Welcome to the programme. The UN says there is evidence that chemical weapons have been used in Syria, but it suspects rebel forces are responsible, not the government. The UN's investigator Carla Del Ponte says interviews with victims and doctors in countries neighbouring Syria suggest the use of the nerve gas Sarin, which causes asphyxia. It's classified as a weapon of mass destruction and it's banned under international law. Let's hear what Carla Del Ponte was saying.
During our investigation for crimes against humanity and war crimes, we collect some witness testimony that made to appear that some chemical weapons were used, in particular nervine gas. And what appeared on to our investigation that was used by the opponents, by the rebels, and we have no indication at all that the government, the authority of the Syrian government, have used chemical weapons. Of course, now the special commission that the Secretary General put in place will investigate and tell us what it is exactly. But I was a little bit stupefied that the first indication we got, they were about the use of nervine gas by the opponents.
Carla Del Ponte there. Let's take you live now to our Geneva correspondent Imogen Fulks, who's in Bern for us this hour on the webcam. So they don't have any hard evidence here, Imogen. They have testimony. What's the process? What do they go through next with this?
But what I should say about this commission of inquiry is that right from the start, it started its work just over 2 years ago. The Syrian government has not allowed it into Syria itself. So all of its evidence has to come from people who have fled Syria, in this case as well, people who were in hospital, who appear to have been affected by something like some kind of nerve gas. So now they will be trying to find out exactly, yes, has this been used? If so, by whom? They have evidence pointing towards rebel groups. They have evidence that it was the nerve agent Sarin. But as you heard Carla Del Ponte say, they don't have concrete proof. The other step would be that the UN Secretary General has appointed his own investigator to look specifically at the use of chemical weapons. But that team wants unimpeded access to Syria, and so far that has been refused. So a very difficult job, a bit of a surprise, I think, to Carla Del Ponte's colleagues that she came out and said this publicly at the point that she has. But she also stressed more investigation needs to take place.
It is a fantastically complex situation on the ground, but if anyone is using chemical weapons, that's a game changer. So it kind of changes the dynamic of the conflict completely.
It could. I think we still need to wait and see. I should say we're expecting an official statement from the United Nations later today, perhaps in the next couple of hours. But we know that President Obama has said that the use of chemical weapons would be a game changer, that might be the point at which the United States or the international community would intervene. He was making that statement, though, I think on the supposition that whoever used them, it would be government forces. Now we hear that possibly it's opposition forces, some of whom the US has considered arming, has suggested it might actually arm. So, you know, very, very difficult. And I think there will be a lot of discussion now going on in Washington, in London, in Brussels about what the next step could be.
Despite this terribly negative relationship between the UN, the West, the United States and the Syrian regime over the past, 2.5 years, if only just to nail this down one way or the other, do they expect or are they asking for access to Syria afresh? I mean, is that a request that they are constantly reheating?
The UN wants unimpeded access to Syria for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, to bring humanitarian relief to the millions of people who are suffering in this conflict. The access, the International Committee of the Red Cross has it a bit, but it's nowhere near what is needed. That is the #1 priority. As I said earlier, the investigator on chemical weapons wants unimpeded access. Human rights investigators want unimpeded access. None of this has been granted so far. For a military thing, excuse me, I'm going to turn this off for you. A military intervention could come with or without the Syrian government agreeing, but I think we are still a long way off from there.
Imogen, thanks very much. Imogen Fawkes there, our correspondent in Switzerland.